All right, for our interview this week, we have steampunk artist Dave Lee. He has a unique perspective on what steampunk is and what the community is becoming. He's a famous icon of steampunk in Comicon circles and graciously agreed to take time off from his magnificent builds to be with us here today. Hi, Dave. How's it going?
Is going really good. Thank you for that fantastic introduction there. I don't know that I'm quite worthy of all the accolades you've bestowed upon me, but I should humbly accept your gracious.
Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. So my name's Dave Lee. I'm from originally from Virginia. I currently live in Germany. Although we'll be moving back the end of May back to Gloucester, Virginia. Looking forward to reconnecting with all of the folks back in the States. I am the author of Country in Ruin, 1865. It's a steampunk western published through HES Publishing. I'm also a steampunk artist. I guess I don't want to say most known for, but the thing that people most associate me with is either the Steampunk Darth Vader, my tank that my family built, and the Dalek, and then just kind of ginormous backpacks that make people wonder, if I'm just strong as an ox or dumb as a rock, one of the two. I'm the husband of a belly dancer, Aina Bariana, married 21 years, together 23. And I'm also the father of author J.M. Lee, author of the Novus Papyrus Chronicles, as well as a whole slew of books that she's in the process of writing right now. So, pretty proud of all of that.
Wow. How did you hear about steampunk subculture?
How did I hear about it? It was 2009. And my wife, being a organizer of belly dance events, she was hosting a troupe out of San Francisco, California. And they were doing a belly dance production of Silent Sirens, or called Silent Sirens, but it was the belly dance production of the silent film Nosferatu. And they had asked us to ask all of our audience members to come in their finest steampunk, and so I quickly went to Google, or maybe it was even Ask Jeeves back then, I'm not sure. But I went to a search engine and I looked for steampunk. What I saw just kind of blew my mind, and I thought, oh my God, that's me. That's what I need to be doing. And I've been hooked, or full steam ahead, as they say, ever since.
Wow. And what do you find so interesting about it? What do you like about it?
I think what I like most about steampunk is I love the beautifully creative way in which I am able to rebel. I have no need or desire to rebel against, I guess, in the conventional way. I much prefer to rebel against stereotypes and things that people want to leverage against us or place upon us. And then I like the fact that steampunk really gives me a way through art and literature to rebel against all of that. And, earn a little bit of extra change by book sales and stuff like that. I love the fashion, the Victorian era to me had the best outfits and fashion of all time. I would extend it back as farther, to the turn of the 19th century, because pre-Victorian era was great too for plaids and things like that. But I love the maker art. I love being able to get into my workshop or my garage and just start tinkering away with things. I love being able to go to a flea market and see a basket of junk and see possibility in it, because whatever that piece of junk that you'd be holding in your hand, it had, I'm joking a little bit here, but it had dreams and aspirations of being something grander than some junk in a flea market, And so being able to see something like that and kind of pay tribute to that, and also pay tribute to just not being a wasteful society. So you kind of go for that recycling aspect of it and turn art out of nothing. I just love all of that stuff. And then I like I said about the rebellion, but I like the fact that it's something that I can do with my wife and my daughter. I can have my dad there with me if he wanted to. I can have my niece who's a year old with us, and we would all have something fun to do at a steampunk event. There's something that would appeal to each one of us, and then it just really it makes us smarter. I think we as a society, we're just such a throwaway society of not just objects but people as well. And so steampunk kind of really gets people back into thinking about doing more and reconnecting to people and making things that really nasty wounds in your hand where you shove a screwdriver like I did today into the side of my hand. But it's like that reconnection of doing something as opposed to sitting there playing a video game or watching TV and doing less.
Well, talking about baskets, what piece of you are you most proud of? Not that your stuff is baskets of junk, but you're finding things and making things out of them.
Well, I think the one piece that I'm most proud about, I guess, is the tank. My dad had just retired, and he was kind of going stir crazy, and he was a carpenter and superintendent for a big commercial builder. And so there was access to a lot of leftover job site junk. Big roll of aluminum cladding was one of them. Instead of going stir crazy, I kind of jokingly said, "Oh, I've always wanted a steampunk tank," and so I gave him my design, and he corrected the design so that it would be something that would work. And then we built it. It took us 3 months. I'd say he did probably 90% of the work as far as building it and making it. I mean, he was in there welding away on the frame, created the steering and the axle. All of that is all made from scratch. And I'd come home from work and I'd help until it was dark. And then when it was done, 3 months later, we had this rolling chassis of this incredible tank. My wife helped with it. My brother Joe, he had helped out quite a bit with it as well. And then I spent a year after that adding more steampunk embellishments, adding electronics, lights, amplifier and speakers, sound, things like that. So it just then it was like that almost my whole family worked on. So, and then now I have something that we even brought over here to Europe. I took to a convention not too long ago here, and it was awesome. Something that I shipped over to Europe, and now we're getting ready to ship it back.
So talking about recycling, how expensive is this hobby?
Well, let's see. That's kind of a tricky question. So technically, it's not that expensive, and you can do a tremendous amount on a dime if you use the bulk of your of the materials that you use come from flea markets. Then you can really do a lot with less. If you were like me and you see potential in every single item that you walk by, you tend to become a bit of a hoarder. And and I've seen pictures of your garage. I look forward to seeing it someday in person. So I can tell that you're not too far behind me, or probably even surpass me. But so it becomes expensive, I guess, when you don't have a lot of self-control like I do. So.
Has your education or career helped you for steampunk?
No. I mean, so for my day job, I'm a IT nerd with the Department of the Army. So, if anything, my career has help prepare me for steampunk in terms of needing something to escape out. So, it provides a lot of inspiration for me wanting to get away from the day-to-day grind and then immerse myself in this kind of fantasy world of steampunk and making. It definitely recharges my batteries from what the IT world takes away from me. So, in my education, um, there's no education that I've had formal, I guess, that has prepared me for steampunk. However, having a father who's a carpenter and on a construction site
Right.
and an artist himself, he and my mother as well as an artist because she makes clothing for dolls, things like that. She's always been very big on sewing and creating. So having two artists as parents, but also having regular day jobs that can be, keeps you kind of grounded. So it's like you have all of the dreaming and creativity to create art, but not want to throw everything to the wind and bank on being a famous artist. It's kind of like having a foot in both sides of the world, the day job and the art world. And so from them, I've learned a lot about how to translate that creativity into tangible things like steampunk art.
Great.
Great.
You made a whole bunch of exciting pieces like TARDIS and Dalek. Recently made a big game character from StarCraft. Can you go into your thought process when making or creating or devising them?
Well, I pick my projects almost entirely based on selfish reasons of what I want to do. And occasionally it'll be a commission piece for somebody or a company wants something. Then it's a different process because, if it's somebody saying, this is what I want, you have to do a lot of work and research and drawings and really to give them a visual of this is what I can make, is this what you want? Because the worst thing you want to do is have somebody pay you to make something and then you can't deliver it. So that creative process is very much geared around setting expectations. When it's for me or a gift that I'm making for somebody, then it's completely entirely what inspires me. And then the process is research.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever it is. Like when I build, I'm talking to you on my iMac. It's built into an old 1880 pump organ. When I was building that, I did a lot of research about Charles Babbage and Ada Lovelace and reading about them and the analytical engine, the difference engine, and because I wanted to whole, I want my art to have things about it that people recognize, especially when people are meticulous on details. Like if I build something that's a fake machine that doesn't really do anything, you need to have details in there that a real engineer is going to look at and go, I recognize this as a blobbity, and even if that's the only person that ever sees that detail, I want everybody to find something that that appeals to them in my art. So I do a lot of research on what I build. There's a funny story about that too, or kind of where I messed up because the very first version of Steampunk Darth Vader, excuse me, I go to a convention and I did not do my research. I thought, I'm a big Star Wars fan. I know this in and out. And, one of the things about steampunk are the guns, right? So I'm standing there talking to John Strangeway, who's very well known as Steampunk Boba Fett, and he's looking at my hip and he's like, what the F is that? And I was like, oh, it's my Vader's steampunk gun. And he's like, Vader doesn't have a gun. Get rid of it. And I was like, no, but I worked really hard and I made this gun. And he's like, I don't care. Vader didn't have a gun. Get rid of it. And I was like, fine. So I got rid of it, put it on the table, and then I realized one little detail can really throw off, something that you worked really hard on and prepared for. And then I saw Stephen Chapman's Steam Saver, and after drooling for that, I made my own. So the research is a pretty big key.
Oh wow.
Oh wow.
Do you have any idols or anybody you'd like to work with?
Oh yeah. I've had a lot of people over the years that have been really, really big influence. I've never met him or talked to him, but there's a guy up in Canada, Ian Fitchfield, he was the first person, even before Brute Force, that I saw making brass and leather armor. And Ian's company, the armor that he was making was just unbelievable, and that got me wanting to try leatherwork, and realizing that how skilled of an art it is. It would be fun to do that, maybe that with him, or even now that I'm friends with and know R.J. Foster, it'd be cool to work with him on some armor projects. He's an incredible leathersmith. Is that the right term?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Leathersmith. I'd love to do some project with Joey Marsace, aka Dr. Grimm. He's just from the very beginning been one of my idols and heroes of steampunk. And then a guy that I met maybe about 2 or 3 years ago. His name is Art Milliken, and he's a Disney Imagineer. He helped build part of Graceland, or not Graceland, but for Michael Jackson. I mean, that's the kind of level of stuff that this guy's done. And he and his wife, Wendy, have a business and, building tiny houses and gadgets. And he builds vehicles every year that are well beyond, just a rolling chassis. That's all kinds of crazy stuff. And yeah, I think if I was to be able to go and hang out with Art for about maybe a month and pick his brain, I don't think that'd be enough time, but it would certainly be one hell of a month. And then spend a month up in Connecticut there with Joey Marsace. It would be awesome time for me.
Yeah, that sounds like fun. Can you share about how you got your first book published and giving advice to people that want to get their books published?
Yeah, writing a book is. I'm sorry, I'm clearing my throat. Writing a book is a pretty momentous thing in somebody's life, and having done it, it was a really big deal for me. But then once you have that book or, that unpolished novel of it, then it's like you said, the question of what the heck do you do now? And I started submitting it to publishers, only to get told that publishers don't really want to talk to a person, they want to talk to an agent. I found a whole slew of basically scam publishers that you pay them X amount of dollars and then they'll publish, they publish 10,000 words of poop, 10,000 times on a paper, and they publish that. They don't really, they're not going to sell you any books and all this. So I kept finding all these scams and were just crappy deals and really getting discouraged. I read that you had to wait a good 6 months before a publisher would even get to your stuff. And then at the time, the self-publishing through CreateSpace started to gain a lot of traction, and because Amazon, everybody buys something on Amazon, so has quite a large market. I looked into CreateSpace, and I went ahead and I published it myself.
Oh wow!
And then after a while of that, it became painfully aware that when you self-publish without having professional editing services, you are you're self-publishing a unfinished book, and it will always haunt you. And so I had met somebody who's now, a dear friend, like family to me, Jeannie Wilkins, and her husband Ross, and they Jeannie had worked as an editor before, and she said, "Well, let me help you." And then we were at a convention, and I believe it was Contemporary in Raleigh, North Carolina. And I just, having this discussion with a bunch of really talented, creative people about the self-publishing, and then next thing I know, I've got maybe 10 people saying, "I'd like to be a part of it. I'll help with this or I'll help with that." And so when we kind of formalized all of that, Jeannie became the editor-in-chief. Nicole Ordway became an editor. Angela Knowles became an editor. Mike Perotti, who was in the Army at the time, he's a retired lieutenant colonel now, he's going to be moving over to becoming an editor as well. All of them were also authors. I do a lot of the formatting and book covers so that we have really good professional-looking books. And then, we have artists like James Hill. There's a guy that we contract for some work out up in Canada who does did both of Nicole Ordway's book covers. And so we founded HCS Publishing, Hat Cross Steampunk Publishing, and it was built on as a nonprofit publisher. I can't imagine there's too many of them out there like that, but it's a nonprofit publisher where the authors make all of the money off the book sales. And so it was kind of a big, important concept for me that, to make it about the work. It's about the books, not about somebody behind the scenes making money on it other than the person whose art it is. Because you write a book, that's your art. Those words on paper, that's your art. And so we created HCS Publishing, and now we've got a whole slew of books out there and a whole slew that are supposed to be coming out this year. So I can do a shameless plug. If you go to hcspublishing.com, I would be eternally grateful. And then, buy books. So.
Steampunk has become a buzzword and getting a lot of media coverage. What makes the community so attractive, do you think? What does it say about shifts in geek and pop cultures?
I'm pretty excited about it. I know there's a lot of people who say, "Oh, it's going to go mainstream and it's going to lose its heart and soul," and blah 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 blah. I don't agree with that. I think the Justin Bieber Christmas song that he did was cool. Didn't particularly care for his music or style or that, but the fact that he used steampunk in the video was awesome, and it was a great choreography, and it was great art. Actually, Ian Fitchfield did a lot of the armor pieces and the piece that Justin Bieber is wearing.
Oh wow!
And so I think with more and more external people coming, it makes the genre grow, and with growth there's always growing pains, so don't expect it to grow and everything be roses and perfect and all that. But one thing that I've seen as it's gotten bigger is you get a ton of the new folks coming in, and they're going to go and they're going to buy a top hat and they're going to get a Nerf gun, and that's step one. And a lot of people will criticize people for that and say, "Oh, Nerfs and blah blah blah," and I really hate that, because that's not steampunk at all. That behavior of criticizing somebody else's steampunk. That is not, in my again, my opinion. But in my opinion, that is not steampunk. That is anti-steampunk. That's crappy behavior from people who don't get it. What they should do is they should realize that every single one of us started off with a top hat and a Nerf gun in the beginning, and we grew from there. Some people are happy at that point, and that's great too. Steampunk should be whatever the heck they want it to be, and if they, look more diesel punk, but they're in there with the steampunk, that's fine too. Worry about their own steampunk and have fun with that, and then just enjoy it more. So you'll get a lot more influx of people, new folks as it grows. But with that growth, you also get it into TV shows and movies, and steampunk bands. The most that they can expect for to be playing at a convention. Maybe they start selling thousands of albums on iTunes. Avenue Park has grown tremendously from the beginning, to the being like the first band that anybody thinks about with steampunk. There's so many other bands too that, like the Steam Powered Giraffe. I was at the Steampunk World's Fair in New Jersey a few years ago, and they had an incredible turnout, largest turnout I think ever, because they brought Steam Powered Giraffe to play, and then extra people came just to see them.
Right.
And that's a result of, one, them being awesome, but it's a result of more, of the genre growing. And if it always stays, a couple thousand people or whatever, then, it'll never be more than just, a party in your backyard. But because it grows, you get, you get it moved from in Dragon Con to the Marriott. You get it filling up 5 hotels in Piscataway, New Jersey, because the World Fair has grown so massive.
Right.
And another cool thing about it too is that that with steampunk growing like this, is that you have other things that are, I guess, running in tandem or parallel, and that's stuff like makers fairs and schools getting a resurgence in science fairs. They've always done it, but it's become more popular now, and they get a lot better projects in science fairs because not just because of steampunk, but because the way people are thinking about all of this is changing, I think. And then you've got programs like the Discovery Channel, telling you how to do things, or web pages, that tell you how to do it yourself and all that. So it's like it's challenging people to become smarter, and turning them away from the society where we just kind of keep dumbing ourselves down. We don't care how anything works; we just know that it does. Now we're getting back to our appreciation of the functionality of things, what makes it work, what's the history of it. I mean, you start talking to a computer about a computer, you should at least know who Charles Babbage is or Ada Lovelace, and that's I guess to come back to your question was, what does it make was it? But what really makes the community so attractive, I think it's all of what I just said, is that there's so much more that it's offering, and then as we grow, it'll just keep growing and getting bigger and better.
Right.
Right.
Well, hey, thanks a lot. Thanks a lot for the interview. And we'll get this published and posted on Land of Nerds.
Cool. I look forward to seeing it, and I look forward to talking to you again. I guess in about a month I'll be back in Virginia, so I'll be able to eventually hook up and meet you in person for finally.
Are you going to the World's Fair?
No, the World's Fair is like a week before we get back.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So I'll see you then.
All right. Take care.
All right, bye.